Good afternoon. So, quickly to recapture what we were discussing towards the previous class, we started looking at L attributed definitions, and once we introduced L attributed definitions, we also introduced translation schemes, where we said that the code need not be at the end of any rule, and we can embed the code anywhere in the right hand side. Okay. And then we looked at positioning of the code, and we said that this code should be evaluated in a position, so that we have all the attributes which are required to evaluate it. And a general position we found was that for inherited attributes, the code must be evaluated in the immediately of the left of the grammar symbol, and for synthesized attributes, the code can be evaluated at the end of the rule. This is what we were discussing, and then we took an example. This example came from, so these were examples we were discussing for the placement of attribute rules, and then we took an example from equation typesetter, and introducing the rules here, we were trying to position these rules so that value of these attributes get evaluated in the right place, and then we looked at the placement of these, and this turned out to be the placement, where we said that each of the inherited attribute is getting evaluated on the immediately left of the grammar symbol. Okay. So, this is what we were doing, and once again, just to set the tone right for the discussion, we had two parsing methods and two kind of attributes, synthesized and inherited attributes, and two parsing methods which are top down and bottom up, and we saw that at least for bottom up parser and synthesized attribute, we could always evaluate all the attributes while we were building the parse tree or doing the parsing. And we also found that as far as L attributed definitions were concerned, we could also use a top down parser and could finish off evaluation of all the L attributed definitions, right. Two things which we have not managed so far, that how do we evaluate translation schemes, and the most critical problem was that how do we use a top down parser along with synthesized attributes, and how do we use a bottom up parser along with the inherited attributes. Okay. These two problems were still not clear. So, everyone is sort of is able to recall what we were doing, is at the same footing, we can start our discussion from here. Okay. So, first problem, okay, that comes is that when I have a top down parser and I have some embedded rules, rules could be embedded anywhere or they could be on the right hand side also. Okay. So, first thing I need to do is in a top down parser, I need to worry about whether I have problem of left recursion or not. Okay. So, here is an example where I have a grammar, I have some attributes which are synthesized attributes, and I want to write a top down parser for this. So, this is the first problem I am attacking, okay, that we have a top down parser and we have synthesized attributes. Okay. So, first problem that will come in top down parser is that I start building my tree from top to bottom, and then I will see that somehow if you are talking of synthesized attributes will go in this direction and my parser will go in this direction. How do I handle this situation? Okay. So, here is a typical situation where you have a set of rules which are left recursive, and then you have a set of synthesized attribute equations or S attributed equations, right. So, how do I solve this problem first? Any ideas, anything? Or can this problem be solved? First, let me ask this question. Can this problem be solved? Or the problem is just not solvable, and therefore, there is no point attempting even to try to find a solution. Anything? I mean, just start thinking aloud. So, again, what should come to your mind is L attributed definitions. Okay. Now, suppose I say that I am trying to build this parse tree, and I am saying that I am using synthesized attributes. Now, when I build this part of the parse tree, okay, remember that when I do top down parsing, this part will be built before this part is built. Okay. That means it is possible at least that if I evaluate all the attributes in this part, okay, and I want to evaluate certain attribute equations, then I can take the value on the right hand side. Okay. So, basically what is happening is, look at it this way, that because of the limitation we have put on the attributes now, we only want to deal with L attributed definitions. L attributed definitions will have both inherited as well as synthesized attributes. So, if somehow I change my synthesized definition to L attributed definitions, okay, then I can do a top down parsing, right. Suppose all these synthesized attributes get translated into L attributed definitions, then I can use a top down parser to crack this problem. Okay. Now, the way I want to do this translation is, I will first take an example and then I will give you a general rule. Basically, conceptually this is saying that since I have built this part of the parse tree, first evaluate all the attributes here and then somehow take them on the right hand side. So, first problem, let us focus on the grammar and forget about the attribute part, and then we will see how to change all these attribute equations from S attributed definition to L attributed definitions. So, it is a reverse transformation, right. So, here is a grammar. If I remove first left recursion from this grammar, because this says E goes to E plus T and E goes to E minus T, I cannot handle left recursive grammars as far as top down parsers are concerned. So, I need to remove left recursion, and if I remove left recursion, this is how the grammar will look. I have introduced now a new non-terminal R, and this E goes to TR and R goes to plus TR and R goes to minus TR and R goes to epsilon, okay. And these two rules remain as it is, because there is no left recursion there, okay. Now, if I compare the two grammars, okay, how will my parse trees look? Okay. So, let us look at this grammar. Okay. This grammar will say that I will go down into something like this, saying that E goes to E plus T and then E goes to E minus T, and then E can go to T and T can go to num, and then goes to num and it goes to num. Okay. Standard technique for removal of the left recursion is, I now say that E goes to TR and then R goes to, let us say, minus TR, and then this T goes to num, this T goes to num, and this goes to plus T and R, and this T goes to num, and this R goes to epsilon, right. This is how the parse trees will look. Okay. Now, if I say that I want to use certain definitions, okay, to find out this value, which are synthesized attributes, okay, it is equivalent to saying that if the same value becomes available here, and then if I now use, instead of only synthesized attributes, L attributed definitions, okay, then I can solve this problem. But how do I convert that? Now, I say that since I am evaluating from left to right, that means when I say that I want to know the value of this E, I must know this value and this value. Now, similarly, if I say that if I am at this point, I must know this, I must know the operator, and I must know this value, then I can find out what is the value corresponding to this part of the tree. And once I know this, then knowing this value and this operator, I can find out this value, which I am saying that knowing this value, this operator and this value, I can find out the same thing. Making sense what I am saying, or not at all? Just not sinking in. Explain what? Ask a question, because that is a very generic statement. Explain it again, I can do it 10 times, but that still does not solve the problem. So, look at it this way, okay, that suppose I have this value. So, let me just put some numbers here. Okay. So, suppose this number is 9, this number is 5, this number is 2, and what I want is, I want value of this expression to be available at this point, right. So, what will be the value? You will take this value, this operator and this value, okay, evaluate it, and we will say this value is 4, and therefore, this value becomes 4, and then you will say I know this value, I know this operator, I know this value, and therefore, this value becomes 6, right. This is how you will do it. Okay. So, it is basically a left to right evaluation, nothing else. Okay. Now, I can do the same left to right evaluation here. If I say this value is 9 and this value is 5, I know the operator here. Somehow, if I say that if I carry this value on the right hand side and then use this operator and use this value and associate that value at, let us say, this R. Okay. So, what will the value I will get for 9 minus 5? Somehow, if I take this value here, I am taking this value here, and then using this information here and this information here, I can do this computation. Okay. I will get the same value somehow. So, let us not worry about how do I change my equations, okay. That I will show you systematically doing. But basically, you are saying that if I know this, this and this, I can compute something here. Then I take it down, okay, and then say now I know this, and therefore I can recompute this value here, right. So, if I say that I have 9 minus 5 which gives me 4, and then I take 4 down here, and now I say I know 4 here, I know plus, and I know what is the number here 2, then I can recompute this value here and somehow take this value. Now, you can see that what I am using here is our L attributed definitions. Okay. So, this value can then become 6 here. Only problem is value is not available to me still at this point. Value becomes available at the rightmost node, rightmost bottom node, right. Now, somehow I need to carry it back. Okay. So, now if I say that I have both synthesized and inherited attribute, if I just can make a copy here, okay, then I can take this value back, okay, and this is precisely what I want to do. Okay. So, let me first take an example and then see what I am doing here. So, let us look at the rules here. These rules nothing is changing because I have no left recursion here, I just copy them as it is. But now what I am doing here is, now I am saying that the new non-terminal I have introduced, corresponding to that I have an inherited attribute which says R inherited is Tval. I am also putting the right places for this. So, basically now I am saying that this node which is the new one which has been introduced, this will now copy into its inherited attribute a value which is value of Tval, right. So, this value gets copied from the left subtree to the right subtree, okay. And then at this node, now I say when R goes to plus Tr, then corresponding to this R, I am now computing an attribute which is in terms of this, this and this. Now, you can see that what I am doing here is that if I now look at this information, if I want to compute a value here, okay, how do I compute this value? I am looking at the operator in the left sibling, and I am looking at a value of the parent and using this information. So, basically my left siblings here are this number, this operator and this value. This is all coming from my L attributed definitions. I can compute this value. So, if I now say R1 inherited, which is this R1, gets a value which is R inherited plus Tval. Now, plus you have to take as an operator. Okay. In this case, it happens to be plus, it could be anything. Okay. Now, if I evaluate this, what will happen now? We will say that this value which was 9 here, which I copied, 9 minus 5 gives me 4 here. Okay. And then if I look at this equation says R1 inherited is R inherited minus Tval. Okay. So, in this case, yeah, so actually it is 9 minus 5. So, okay. So, let me have both these rules. So, this was minus, this was 9, 5, this gives me 4, and now I say that I am looking at R inherited here. This says I am taking this value and I am taking value from the left child, and this gives me 2 and 4 and this gives me value 6, right. Only except issue remains that this value 6 is available here and not here. I want eval to be 6 and not R inherited to be 6. Okay. So, how do I take this value up? Now, I can actually do a very simple transformation, because now I am saying that R is going to epsilon and R can have both inherited and synthesized attributes. Now, I say that R synthesized is nothing but a copy of R inherited. Okay. So, if I do that, what will happen? Then I will say that let me take this on. Can you see this part from the back? You can't. Okay. Why didn't you point it out? Let me draw this here. These are your trees, right? Can you see this from this corner? Okay. So, now when I take this value, okay, first this value just gets copied here, okay, and now I say that I want to compute inherited attribute in terms of this and this attribute is coming from the parent, this attribute is coming from the left sibling, and therefore, I get a value which is 4 here, and then I say that now I am computing a value which is coming from the parent and a value which is coming from the sibling, and I get a value which is 9 minus 5. What is the equation I was using here? 2. Okay. So, this should be 2 here. So, this gives me 6. Okay. Now, I say that R synthesized is nothing but a copy of R inherited. Okay. So, if I do that, then I can say that this was value of Ri, and now Rs here becomes Ri, and what will be the value of Rs? 6, right. And now I can say this R synthesized is a copy of this R synthesized. So, this gives me R1s, which becomes 6, and then I can use the same rule here which says R synthesized is R1 synthesized, which is 6, and then I can say eval is R synthesized, which is 6, and that is what I wanted. Okay. So, this is what we do here, that we say that whenever I do this epsilon reduction, then I am saying R synthesized is nothing but a copy of R inherited, and here I say that R synthesized is a copy of R1 synthesized, and the same rule I will use here which says R synthesized is a copy of R1 synthesized, and eval is nothing but Rs. Okay. Now, when I finish parsing this and simultaneously I evaluate all the attribute equations, what will be the eval? Eval will be the correct value, which is 6, okay, and this is what I wanted, right. Now, you can see that what I have is I have taken a parser which only had S attributed definitions, converted that into L attributed definitions. So, I can use now a top down parser. This is doable with top down parser. How will I use the top down parser for this? Okay. You can see that all my attribute equations are in the right place. So, I can do the computation without violating any dependencies. Okay. And how will the parse tree look for this? This is how the parse tree will look without the rules, and if I now introduce nodes corresponding to all the rules, this is how the nodes will look, right. So, T goes to num followed by Tval, basically this is what you have to remember, T goes to num followed by Tval, and just put rules at the right places. So, R goes to minus T, this rule R1 followed by this rule. Okay. So, this is what it is, R goes to minus T R and this rule. Okay. So, this is how I put all these values, and now if I evaluate all these in the depth first traversal order, whenever I encounter a rule I just execute it. What will be the last rule to be evaluated? This will be the last rule to be evaluated, and what will be the eval? The right value, whatever is the right value of this expression. Okay. So, you can see that if I am given synthesized attributes, I need a method. So, I did not still give you a systematic method of converting all the S attributed definitions into an L attributed definition, okay. But it is doable, at least by this example we are able to see that we can do it. Okay. Now, let us look at a more okay. So, this is just giving you execution trace of the same thing. Okay. This is how it is traversing. So, finally, I get value of synthesized attribute here, and then I am just carrying it to the top. Okay. But this is really what happens. Okay. Just focus on this rule, okay, where you have a left recursion and you have synthesized definitions. And what I want to do is I want to convert this into L attributed definitions. So, when I put L attributed definitions, first thing that will happen is that L attributed definitions will introduce now a new symbol, and then I am saying that R first must carry R inherited must be a function of whatever is on the left hand side, right. A synthesized in this case is nothing but R synthesized, and whenever you have a rule like this, all we are saying is that R1 is a function of whatever is G and followed by R here, and then R must go to epsilon, and when R goes to epsilon, I am just copying inherited attribute into making a copy of that into synthesized attribute. So, that gives you a general scheme of taking S attributed definitions and converting them into L attributed definitions. Okay. So, basically this is exactly what I used here, that now if you see that what I have done here is I am saying that this R is going to have an inherited attribute which is a function of whatever is on the left hand side tree, and this is nothing but a copy rule. And if I see this, this says R1 inherited is a function of the parent and the left sibling. This is what I have computed here, and then whenever I have this rule, this says that synthesized attribute is nothing but a copy of the inherited attribute. So, systematically I can take S attributed definitions and convert them into L attributed definitions, and once I convert them into L attributed definitions, then I know that I can use a top down parser. Make sense? Is this clear? Questions, anything? G of, or you mean, I mean whether this function is commutative or not, is that what you are saying? You have to be slightly careful in writing those arguments. No, 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 careful. Removing left recursion does not give us L attributed definitions. Removing left recursion is a precondition for using a top down parser. What we are saying here is that synthesized attributes can be converted into L attributed definitions in this manner, where we say that since I am constructing a tree starting in a bottom up traversal manner, that means left hand side of the parse tree will be computed first before I compute the right hand side of the parse tree. I just use that logic and say that anything to be computed on the right hand side must be a function of either the parent or the left hand side. But these two things go concurrently. So, now you can see that what I did in this example, precisely this is what I did, okay, that in first case I was looking only at synthesized attribute, where I was saying that A depends on the attributes of A1 and Y, and this A depends upon attributes of X, which I systematically converted into L attributed definition, saying that the right hand side of the attribute of the right hand side of the tree depends upon the attribute of the left hand side, or attribute of any node depends upon the left sibling and the parent node. Right. Okay. So, now let us move on with implementation, okay, because now we also want to deal with saying that I have a top down, I have a bottom up parser and I want to deal with inherited attributes. Okay. So, how do I deal with inherited attributes? Okay. So, let us keep this as the running example, which is this one. Let me go back to the same grammar, this one. Okay. Now, suppose let me reverse the problem. Okay. And now I say that instead of a top down parser, I want to use a bottom up parser. Okay. Now, first thing you are saying that in a bottom up parser, I can deal with synthesized attribute. If everything is S attributed, then life is easy, but if something is inherited, then I do not know what to do with it, right. So, that is where I am going to use the translation schemes. Okay. Now, how do I first convert an L attributed definition which has inherited attributes into a synthesized attribute? Okay. So, let us take this one. Okay. Let me just pick up one of the rules here, and do you remember that how do we evaluate all the synthesized attributes using a bottom up parser? What did we do there? We created a value stack on which I was able to keep all the values, right. This everyone remembers how we use the value stack. Okay. So, let us just pick up a rule from here. Okay. So, rule I am using here is, let us say R goes to plus T and R, and then there are two definitions on the right hand side. So, let me also write the embedded definitions here, and embedded definitions here are, in this case it is R1 inherited is a function of R inherited plus T val, followed by R, followed by R synthesized is equal to R1 synthesized, okay, and this I am calling as R1. This is what I have. Okay. And now I want to use a bottom up parser. Okay. Only problem with bottom up parser is going to be that I am dealing with inherited attributes and I do not know how to compute inherited attributes. Okay. So, can you think of a scheme to now convert all L attributed definitions into S attributed definitions? Right. We are looking at two kind of transformation. I want to convert S attributed definitions into L attributed definition when I am using a top down parser, and I want to convert all the L attributed definitions only into synthesized attributes if I am using a bottom up parser. So, what is the reverse transformation? We just focus on the line I have written here. So, one way to look at this is that if I say that I have only synthesized attributes, okay, then what is the right place to compute all the synthesized attributes? Where do I put all the synthesized attribute computation? At the end, right. So, how do I take this attribute equation rather from this place? So, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 symbols. Now, this is already at the end, so I do not worry about it, okay, but this one is somewhere embedded. How do I take it to the end without changing my computation order? So, again we will have to think of a general method. We may deal with examples to understand it, but finally we have to come up with a general algorithm. See, all the time we have been introducing these non-terminals. To remove left recursion, we introduce a non-terminal. So, let me play this trick now and say that I want to introduce new non-terminals, okay, and we say that for corresponding to every embedded rule, you introduce a new non-terminal, okay. And if I now suppose I do now a transformation and say that R goes to plus T, and corresponding to this I introduce now a new non-terminal M, and then I say R1, and then I have R synthesized equal to R1 synthesized, okay, and then I say M goes to epsilon, okay. So, at least if I forget about this rule, okay, am I dealing with the same language, okay, and now I now say that now M is going to have certain attributes, okay, because now it is a new non-terminal. A new non-terminal can have inherited attributes, it can have synthesized attributes, but we will deal with later, deal with that. Suppose now I say that M goes to epsilon, and this is where I introduce R1 inherited is R1 plus T1. Will it give me the same parse tree? So, what is the parse tree I will get? From here I was getting R going to plus T this action, R1 and this action, right. So, I was getting a parse tree which was of this form, plus T, let me call this as action 1, let me call this as action 2, I was getting action 1 and then R1 and action 2. And now, if I look at parse tree corresponding to this, this gives me R goes to plus T M R1 action 2, this M goes to epsilon and action 1. If I just do a scan of all the leaf nodes, is it going to give me the same strings? Yes, no. So, all I need to do is whenever I have embedded rules, introduce a marker and move rule to the right hand side. Now, if you look at this, all the rules are on the right hand side. If all the rules are on the right hand side, can I use now a bottom up parser, because everything looks like now a synthesized attribute? Yes, no. What are the two actions? Leading to, so I have multiple symbols which can go to epsilon. Remember that actions will be different in each case. Okay. So, in general this is how it will work, okay, that whenever you have, okay, so this part we have done, we are, okay, so bottom up evaluation of inherited attribute. We want to just remove embedded action from the translation scheme, and how do I remove embedded action? Make transformation so that embedded action occurs only at the end of their production, and replace each action by a distinct marker, and this distinct marker is the non-terminal which says this marker goes to epsilon. So, it does not change my language, and this is what happens, okay, that now if I say, so this is an embedded action, this was the first example we took as far as the example of translation schemes were concerned, where we said we want to take an infix and convert that into a postfix. Okay. So, this is what we will do. We will say that I am going to, corresponding to this action I am putting a marker M, corresponding to this action I am putting a marker N, M and N both go to epsilon, and the action corresponding to that occurs here. but I still need to do more. I mean, this is just not sufficient, okay, because I can have attributes now corresponding to not just all the non terminals in the original grammar, but I can have now attributes corresponding to the new non terminals I have introduced, and each non terminal can have both inherited, at least one inherited and one synthesized attribute. It can have more, but we can deal with at least one, and then we will see how to generalize it. Okay. Now, if I look at this grammar, can I use a bottom up parser for this? Okay. So, I started with a grammar where I had all these L attributed definitions. See, basically if you see placement, why I mean we are dealing with L attributed definitions, we are saying that I need to place my attribute equation at the right place, so that it does not violate any of the dependencies when I start evaluating it. Okay. So, I have done a very simple syntactic transformation, okay, without changing the language. All I am saying is that introduce some redundancies and then compute all the attribute equations into the new places I have created. So, basically corresponding to these non terminals, what will happen? You will now have a place on the stack where I can compute it, and shortly I am going to argue that actually you do not have any kind of inherited attribute in the system. All attributes are always synthesized attribute, inherited attributes are only a convenient way of writing attribute equations. There is nothing like inherited attribute. And if you are dealing only with synthesized attribute, I can always use a bottom up parser. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I will come to that. I will come to that. That is why I am saying that so far I have not introduced attributes corresponding to M and N. So, once I introduce attributes values of M and N, then it will become clear. But right now, if you see this example, this is lot simpler, where I am just taking some action, I am not computing anything, then at least this will work. About this you are convinced? Okay. So, once I introduce attributes corresponding to M and N, even this question will be answered. It's clear? Okay. So, at least first step what looks like is prima facie that if somehow I can remove all the embedded actions and move them to the rightmost position, then I can get grammars by introduction of new non terminals where all the actions occur only at the rightmost position, and therefore, they are equivalent to or they look like synthesized attributes only, and therefore, I can use a bottom up parser to evaluate this, but I still have to generalize it. Is this part clear to everyone? Okay. So, let us move on then, okay, and let us see that how do I deal with inherited attributes on the parser stack. Okay. So, what we are doing here is that when we deal with bottom up parser, okay, remember that this is what we did when we were having only synthesized attributes, that if I have a rule which says A goes to x y, then I already had the attributes of synthesized attributes of x and y on the stack, and before reduction I computed value of A, popped x and y, and then pushed the A, and in the value stack I pushed the synthesized attribute of A. This is what I did. Okay. So, synthesized attribute of x can be inherited by y many times, which are really copy rules. Okay. So, when I say that I have says that A goes to x y, okay, basically we are saying that now if I use only L attributed definitions, how can value of yi be defined? Yi can be a function only of ai and xi and xs, right. That is the only way I can compute yi. There is no other argument which is required to compute yi. Okay. So, many times what happens is yi is a copy of x, but as I said I am only giving you examples, I am building up so that I can come up with a general algorithm, okay, which will solve this problem for all grammars. Okay. So, here is an example first. Okay. You remember this example, types. Okay. So, now I had this D going to TL which said L inherited is T type, but at that point of time I just wrote this equation at the rightmost position, but now I am computing it in the, because L was an inherited attribute and therefore I want to compute it only on the left of L, right. So, I will first say T followed by this action followed by L. I am embedding actions in the right place now, and here I am saying that T goes to int and T goes to real. So, there is no embedded action here, I am computing this in the rightmost position, and then I said L goes to L comma ID. So, I said L1 inherited is L inherited, then I have L1, and here I was saying that I am making an entry in the at type, and when I had L going to ID, then I was saying that I am only making this entry in the parse table. This is the grammar I had. Okay. Now, let us do one thing. Okay. Let us try to parse this string and see, actually try to observe a phenomena and see what happens there. And the string I am trying to parse is this one, real PQR, right, and I am going to use a bottom up parser, okay, because that is the intent, that I have L attributed definitions, but I want to use a bottom up parser. Okay. Now, if I use a bottom up parser, let us just deal with the stack, there is nothing else which is really required. What will be the first symbol I will see on the stack? First I am going to, so let us say that I have this value, so this is my state stack, this is my value stack, and first I will get this name which says I have real here, and the value stack will contain real, and this real will get is basically nothing but type. Okay. So, T type is nothing but real, and that value is available here. Then what will happen? Then I will push P on the stack. Okay. So, P will come here, okay, and corresponding to P, okay, what will be the symbol here? Look at the grammar here, P is nothing but an ID, and therefore, this is nothing but an L. Okay. And now, when I do a reduction by this rule which says L goes to ID, what is it that I want to do? See, remember that I have T here. Now, what will happen is that I will first take P on the stack. So, let us see how it goes. Okay. I will take P on the stack, then I will make corresponding to this, I will make an entry in the symbol table, then I will push com on the stack, then I will push Q on the stack, and then corresponding to Q I will make an entry in the parse table, and then I will say, oh sorry, I will not reduce that Q. So, I will have L comma ID, and then when I reduce L comma ID to L, that point of time I will make an entry corresponding to Q in the symbol table, and then I will push comma on the stack and I will push R on the stack, and then I will say L goes to L comma ID, which is L comma R, and that point of time I will make an entry corresponding to R in the symbol table, right. These are the 3 entries I was making in the symbol table. So, when this reduction takes place, okay, that this was ID and L goes to ID, I want to take this action, and what is the action here? I want to make an entry in the symbol table saying that type of P is, what is the type of P? Real. Now, where is stack on real on the stack? With respect to the grammar symbol. So, if I say this lexeme, if I say stack, this is my stack pointer, this is top, okay, where is the value of the type available on the stack, value stack? Top minus 1. So, can I say which rule which says L goes to ID, which is saying at type ID entry L inherited? Instead of that, can I write a rule that whenever I have this reduction, I am saying at type, and where is my ID? ID is at the top, so I say value at the top, and then I say type information. So, what is L inherited there? L inherited is nothing but type information. So, there I say that this is value at top minus 1. So, basically I am looking for this information, what is the type of P, and that is on the stack. I could find it at top minus 1. If I now go further and this has been reduced to L, then I will push comma here, and then I will push Q here, and I will have ID here. Now, when I do this, then this whole thing is going to get reduced to L. Okay. Now, when I have this rule which says L goes to L comma ID, what is it that ultimately I am trying to do? See, remember that all these rules, this rule and this rule which is a copy rule, this is not contributing anything, this is just taking value in one part of the tree to another part of the tree. Okay. Ultimately, these are the only two actions I am interested in. I want to make these entries in the symbol table. Okay. So, now if I say that I am reducing by this rule, okay, can I say at the same time that whenever L goes to L comma ID, basically what I am trying to do is and where is value of type? What is the offset for value of type? So, this is my top which contains lexeme, this is top minus 1, top minus 2 and top minus 3, right. This is where the value of attribute is. And once I do this reduction, what will happen now? That this will go, this will go, this will go, this will go and it will become L. Okay. And then I will again push comma on the stack and I will again push now ID on the stack which is going to be R and ID and I will again do this reduction, and when I say now I want to make an entry corresponding to R, okay, what is the rule I will use? I will say that type of R is available at top minus 3 which is here. Okay. So, do I need to use any of this rule or this rule if I know the position of the type in the stack? Okay. So, two things you must remember here is that corresponding to this rule and this rule, basically I am saying that lexeme is always at the top and type is either, when I do the reduction by this rule, type is at top minus 1 and when I do this reduction type is at top minus 3. It is always a fixed position on the stack. Okay. So, this is what happens that if I keep on doing this reduction, every time a string is reduced to L, T-val is just below it on the stack. Okay. Every time I say that whole thing is getting reduced, T-val is just below this, and therefore, now I can say that every time reduction to L is made, use this information that it is in a known place, and therefore, when I say L going to ID is applied, then we say that T type is nothing but add type ID entry is nothing but add type top and top minus 1, okay, which is here, and if I say L goes to L comma ID is applied, then this is basically saying that this is equivalent to add type top and top minus 3. So, I could always find this value in a fixed location on the stack. I was fortunate this time, it may not happen in general, but in this case it happened as far as this grammar was concerned, and therefore, now if I replace all these actions by this, how will my grammar look? My grammar will look something like this. I do not have to have any inherited attributes, I do not have to carry these values of L inherited being L1 inherited and T type being L inherited and so on. Okay. I can just write these two rules and all those inherited attributes will just go away, because they were anyway carrying information from one part of the tree to another part of the tree. So, I can use a bottom up parser. You can see that I started with a grammar which was L attributed definitions, and then I was always able to find attributes somewhere on the stack and I was able to then use it. Questions? If you do not ask me, I am going to immediately give you a question, which may be in the quiz form. Which are inherited from the parent. So, what about them? Now, what attributes can you inherit from the parent? Can you inherit synthesized attribute or only inherited attribute? You have answered your question, right. Actually, if you start looking at carefully, there is nothing like an inherited attribute in the system, they are only synthesized attributes. Okay. Look at it this way. So, let me in general write something, okay, some rule, okay, and let us say that this is the first rule of my any grammar I have. So, suppose I have a rule which says A goes to X, Y and Z, and this happens to be the first rule of my grammar, where A is the start symbol. Okay. And right in the beginning we said that what are the kind of definitions we will have? We will say that as far as lexemes are concerned or the tokens are concerned, they can only have synthesized attribute, right. Now, if I look at A, what kind of attributes A can have? What is inherited attribute of A and what is synthesized attribute of A? What is inherited attribute of A? It cannot be defined. It is a start symbol, it has no left sibling, it has no parent, right. So, this is undef. What about synthesized attribute of A? It can be defined as a function of, let us say, let me call this function of xs, ys and zs, right. Now, what about x inherited? How can I define x inherited? What does it depend upon? What does it depend upon? A inherited, but A inherited is not defined, it is undefined. And what about its left sibling? Does x have a left sibling? No. So, this is also undefined. What about x synthesized? What does it depend upon? What does x synthesized depend upon? So, there is going to be some rule corresponding to x somewhere and it will depend upon the symbols on the right hand side. So, xs can be defined. Okay. Now, what about y inherited? So, let us try to compute y inherited. So, x is now a function, okay, corresponding to some symbols, okay, but it can be defined using the rule of x. What about y inherited? What does it depend upon? It can only depend upon inherited attribute of the parent, which is undefined, and then it can depend upon attributes of its left sibling, but xi is undefined. So, it can only be a function of x synthesized, can't be anything else. What about y synthesized? Y synthesized is some function of its symbols which will occur in the rule corresponding to y, where y occurs on the left hand side and symbols on the right hand side. Similarly, I can argue about z inherited. So, can you see that do I need any inherited attributes in my system? If I am dealing only with synthesized attributes, okay, then I can always find them in the stack. I just need to know the right location. Like in this case, I was able to know the right location, saying that whenever this reduction takes place, then the right reduction is finding the value in top minus 3. Whenever this takes place, right place is top minus 1, and I am done. Right. So, I do not have to worry about inherited attributes at all. Inherited attributes are a notation which is easier to express, but really is not required. I can only deal with synthesized attributes. If you are dealing with L attributed definitions, if you have cycles, then that is a different issue, and we will see how to deal with cycles. Okay. So, let us take a break here today, and we will continue our discussion in the next class from this point onwards.